Welcome back to the Real with Joseph Labman. I am Joseph Labman. Hope you guys having a great Tuesday afternoon. Welcome into the Real. If you're new here, please like, subscribe, and share. Shout out to all the new subscribers and people who have commented on the show, giving feedback. I really appreciate that. Everybody's hit the like button every show, and hit the like button the way here helps promote this video more in the algorithms, and we really appreciate that. And yeah, looking forward to today's show. Good show planned ahead. Yesterday was a great show. I was on fire at the end. I went on a rant, and my man Humble, he was out and about, and he lost his connection, so he's back today. He's gonna give his thoughts on the kind of a part two conversation today on Brenda Frese and the women's Maryland women's basketball coach whose clip is going viral right now on the internet, and there's a lot of different takes on it. And yesterday, Humble and I gave our take on it, how much we think it's actually a good coaching, and that people to understand the coaching world know that and the sports in general, that's what a good coach looks like in my opinion. So we'll get into that, and then have a part two conversation there, and we'll have a feed off of that more. And then also we're going to preview the Cavs versus Magic tonight. Obviously big one tonight for the Cavs at home, 8 p.m. on Peacock NBC. So in the land tonight, 8 p.m. So I'm looking forward to checking out that game, and that's a big one for the Cavs. Get a nice win for the playoffs, get some momentum going. I think the last time they played the Magic, 2-3 weeks ago, they lost, so get a little revenge game, and obviously a team they may play in the postseason. So, but we're going to start off the show talk about the Browns. Tomorrow's the Ohio State Pro Day, and there's a report out there from Jake Trotter today on the Really Big Show that a large amount of the Browns contingency will be in Columbus tomorrow to scout the Ohio State Pro Day. Obviously, Carnell Tate's been the big name with the wide receiver, but Tony Grossi and some other people speculated that maybe Caleb Downs, the safety, maybe the pick at number 6. We're going to talk about that here to start off. But before I get to that, joining me now is the humble man. He's the most humble man I know. He's the MMA man now. He's got his own channel, Humble Man MMA. Go subscribe to him, show him some love. He's going to have some great content over there. And obviously some big fights coming up this weekend. Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. I'll be watching that myself, so that's going to be a good one. So no further ado, the man himself, Humble's in the building. Humble, what's happening?
What's happening, everyone? Glad to be back on Joe's platform, and hope you guys are having a good Tuesday.
Absolutely. Humble, we talked about some Browns draft news yesterday. And, yesterday, obviously, it was more about, what would you do at number 6? Would you take a receiver? Would you take a tackle?
Correct.
And yesterday, Humble, we did our mock draft, and we took the Ohio State Buckeye. I let you pick. You took Carnell Tate, right? Then we took, I think, Caden Proctor at 24. We took the cornerback, Brandon Siss from South Carolina, at number 39. Well, Humble, today, there's some more news coming out of Browns world from Jake Trotter of ESPN. And Jake Trotter put this report out about he's hearing that the Browns large contingency will be down in Columbus tomorrow for the Ohio State Pro Day. Obviously, like we've talked about Carnell Tate, but Caleb Downs, the safety, the best safety in the draft, one of the best players in the draft, period. He'll be, they're going to be down there possibly looking at him as well. Here's the report.
The one guy I'm sure the Browns won't draft in the top 6 is Caleb Downs. What do you see him as, Jake? Is he a perennial All-Pro in the NFL?
So going to Ohio State Pro Day tomorrow, Caleb Downs is going to be there. I'm hearing the Browns are going to have a large contingent in Columbus tomorrow to look at all the Ohio State guys and talk to a lot of them. After Mendoza, I think he's the smartest player in the entire draft.
So one thought in my mind why the Browns won't totally dismiss Downs. Okay. Delpit's contract ends after this coming year. Okay. 26 is his last year. So who's to say they wouldn't, play Caleb deep 1 year and then move him in his home spot? Because he'd be a better deep safety, I would think.
How would you feel if they took him at 6 and passed on Carnell Tate or a tackle?
He'd be the only defensive player, I said. Okay.
Wow.
Well, your theory makes sense if it weren't for the fact that the Browns have
other needs,
copious holes on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
So that's the report there from Jake Trotter, and shout out to them, courtesy ESPN Cleveland. And so, obviously, Humble, the big thing right now is could Caleb Downs be the pick at number 6? Is he the sleeper pick that nobody's talking about? We're all talking about wide receivers and linemen, and we think of a Buckeye, we're talking Carnell Tate. But, Caleb Downs is a guy who is a phenomenal player. I think he's not a safety that comes around every so often. And I just think, I wonder if the Browns humble, like last year, remember we thought they would take a quarterback early. We ended up going with Mason Graham, a defensive lineman, with
Right.
the overall pick. It turned out to be a pretty good pick for him. So I wouldn't shock me. I mean, they're only one pick ahead this year at number 6. I think Caleb Downs is certainly a top 5, 10 talent, no doubt about it. Do I think he's a better prospect than Carnell Tate? I do. Do I think he's a better prospect than the left tackles? I do. So when you look at it from that standpoint, you're kind of thinking, okay, we have the 6th pick. You don't get that kind of, you don't really want to be picking top 10 every year. Obviously, it means you're a bad team. Unless you trade up, but you're obviously mortgaging a lot if you do that. So sometimes, it's like you're not always picking in the top 10. But when you do pick in the top 10, humble, you're probably getting a premier talent. As long as you nail the pick and develop and have a plan, you're getting a premier talent for a bargain price for 4 years.
Yeah.
So, he made a good point there. Grant Delpit's contract's going to be up. Ronnie Hickman, I'm not sure what his future will be. You're going to need a safety. We know you have a great front line. You have a great cornerback room. You have a very good linebacker core. You need a free. So you got to have a safety, though. I think, especially nowadays with all just the way the game's played, you need somebody that can cover, be a ball hawk, and they haven't had that kind of safety, humble, in a long time that I could think of. Long time. I mean, Grant Delpit's been pretty good, but he's not a ball hawking safety, in my opinion.
Right, to no means.
Down at the box, you know what I mean? I think him and Downs together would actually complement each other pretty well. So I could totally see Caleb Downs being the pick. I really can't. I know yesterday we said it's probably gonna be offense, but if Andrew Berry and the Browns feel like that's just too good of a player to pass on, and he's actually he is a need in some ways.
Yeah.
He is a need. I'm not saying he is a need defensively.
Right.
And if you feel like you can get still good enough a receiver and a tackle, because you have a 39th pick and you have the 24th, maybe you can make some wheel and deal, move up to 20 with Dallas or something, and find some trade, where you can move up a little more. I wouldn't kill him for it, humble. I'm curious your thoughts.
No, yeah, I think you hit it right on the nail. Because like you said, Grant Delp, I mean, as good as he's been for us, like, he's not a superstar by no means, not a Pro Bowler. And then, like you said, Ronnie Hickman, what's his future going to be like with us? You know what I mean? 24 years old. Yeah, I mean, we're lacking that position. And that's a great point, Joe.
Yeah, and I just think, the 3, I mean, you look at the 2 levels of defense that I critiqued the Browns before last year's draft that I feel like they still needed. One was a legit 3 tech, somebody in the middle. When you have somebody in the middle of the line that can just, cause a lot of pressure and stop the run, it's going to be hard for teams to, score points on you. And especially you have Myles Garrett at the edge. Mason Graham, I think, was probably, and Malik Collins too last year. They were responsible for a lot of those Myles Garrett sacks in some of those games. I mean, because they were just generating so many pressure, they would funnel the quarterback out of the pocket or get him right to, where he had to take a couple steps out of the pocket or fade back, and Myles is right there. And so, but I think the other side of that, humble, if you have a safety that can cover so much, half of a field, you know what I mean? Which I think Caleb can. He's that athletic. He's that much of a freak. I mean, Caleb could have came out he could have went and played offense in college football, and maybe as a running back or whatever, he would still be a damn good pick. You know what I mean? So I think with Caleb, he's a guy where, to me, he's kind of like I'm not saying he's gonna be as good as this guy, because this guy's one of the best players in my lifetime, and just football players there, but that Palomalu type player where he just covers a lot of the field. Ed Reed with the Ravens, obviously a lot of people think it's the greatest ball hawk safety ever, one of them. I mean, there's a lot of them, but he's one of the greatest ever. Ed Reed, you cannot leave. Ed Reed was unbelievable, but in Palomalu was insane too. But I see Caleb as that kind of hybrid. He's a hybrid safety where he can be a ball hawk, he can play down in the box, you can move him around everywhere, and hell, he could even be your punt returner if you want him to be, or a kick, whatever. I think punt returner. And so I think Caleb, he's just overall humble. He's just a great football player. And you addressed the middle of the line last year. So now I think you solidify that back end. That's why, I mean, it's called safety for a reason.
Right.
Safety. And, you know,
Yeah.
safety net. It's the back end of your defense. It's to make sure that nothing ever really gets by you most of the time. Especially, you know, if guys have a breakdown in coverage, which we've seen. I think one of the weaknesses of the defense here and there, Humble, has been the secondary. I broke it down on tape. Sometimes we have guys in man coverage that weren't great or too slow. But if I got a safety over the top though, now that can, you know, shade to one side of the field where they're trying to attack, and just a great safety that can cover a lot of ground, that's gonna be a lot harder for defense. It's gonna make quarterbacks, you know, kind of hold the ball a little longer, make you have to go to the second or third read or fourth read maybe, and that gives Myles Garrett more time to get to the quarterback and, you know, some of our other guys up front. So I think
100%.
look at it from that standpoint. It's like, man, you add that guy to that defense, shit,
Right. It's scary.
scary times in Cleveland.
Yeah. I mean,
Go.
defense wins ball games, right? I mean, keep adding to that defense. Myles Garrett is only going to have a select more number of years. I mean, you know, until of his prime. So, you know, I build through that defense, and yeah, I think that was a good idea to pick up a safety. I'm surprised we didn't pick up on that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Caleb, he's not you don't get a safety like this in the top 10 every year, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think you get one this talented. You know, I have to think back to the safeties in the last 5-10 years that got drafted in the first round, but I don't know if there's as many as talent, or you know, maybe they were as talent, but maybe not as good as Caleb Downs was. I mean, Caleb Downs, he's a freak, man.
A national champion too. Can't forget about it.
National champion, very good person off the field.
Right.
And he said he might be the second highest. I would say Caleb Downs might have the highest IQ in this draft.
Mm.
And I know Mendoza's up there. I'm sure maybe, you know, maybe Tice. I don't know. The quarterbacks usually obviously have a lot of high IQ. Tice Simpson, maybe, or maybe there's another player there. But I would say Caleb might have the highest IQ. I mean, that guy. I've watched him break down games. And here's the thing with Caleb too, Humble. He's been developed by an NFL coach for the last 3 years. He was with Nick Saban his first year, and then he was with, you know, he was with Nick Saban his first year. Second year, he was with Ohio State's old defensive coordinator, Jeff Knowles, but they won a national championship, or Jim Knowles. But last year, he was with Matt Patricia. And, you know, I think that year with Matt Patricia and obviously with Nick Saban, and even with Jim Knowles, obviously they won a championship. But I think the 2 years, I said 3, but 2, because I forgot Matt was only here for 1 year so far. But with Matt Patricia and with Nick Saban, I mean, you're getting NFL type knowledge, especially with Matt Patricia. This is a guy who's fresh out of the NFL. And, you know, that defense up until the end of the year when the offense got stagnant and weren't playing complimentary football, that defense was on a historic pace this year at Ohio State. A lot of that was because of him, and he just looked like he was even better this year. So, and he was already great, you know. But I just think you get a guy like that, and the thing about him too, Humble, he likes to hit physical. Yeah, he's a physical hitter. He likes to make statements. I've seen he's made some hits in some games where they had to go on the replay, you know, and say, is this you know, it's a little old school now. Old school now gets you ejected nowadays. Definitely a 15-yard penalty. But I think we need a little edge, you know.
Yeah.
When you're trying to change a culture, you need a high IQ guy who's a good dude in the locker room. He's just a great person, and he's got a little edge to him. You know, I don't know. That's what I would see. Now, he's an exception, obviously, because he's just like Tony Grossi said. He's an exception because he's just a great defensive player. Usually, though, usually in a lot of the mocks you've seen or what we've heard is that the Browns are going to be looking at receiver or offensive tackle. I think it's leaning more receiver, Humble. I don't know why I get that. I just have that feeling. Do you think he's worth taking over a Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon? Or are you still going offense?
I don't know, man. That's a hard question. Probably would have to go with the defense. Now, I'm sorry I'm switching it up from yesterday, but it's just defense wins championships. You can't get the offense running. You know what I mean? That's gonna cause trouble and give our offense more opportunities to be out on that field. So yeah, I don't know. I like Caleb Downs more than I think about it, man.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, if I had to rank like the 3 top names I've heard for the 6th pick, right? If I had to rank Caleb Downs, Carnell Tate, and Monroe Freeling,
Mm-hmm.
let's even say Spencer Fano, or even Mekhi Lemon. If I had to rank all those guys, Caleb's number 1 in terms of just prospect, not need, but who's the best prospect. He's number 1 on my list out of all of those guys.
Right.
So, I kind of get it if they lean that way. Like, we get a guy this caliber on a bargain price for 4 years, and we, if he pans out, obviously we'll pay him. But, I kind of get it. So I could see why they're sending a large brass to, because remember last year, Humble, when they went to Colorado, they sent the whole brass there.
Mm-hmm.
And they scouted, it was Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders. Well, they ended up taking one of those guys. And I think they were really considering Travis. Now they ended up getting Jacksonville called and gave them that trade, so they had to take it, and it worked out for them. But they still took Shador Sanders. So when they send the whole contingency out there, and make it known, they're targeting 2-3 guys there. I think it's going to be Tate and Downs, similar to last year with Travis and Shador. Obviously, a little different circumstance, but in some ways similar. Like in terms of like we're taking one of these 2 guys, I think, at 6. Or it's, what I mean? And obviously, last year was unique because Shador fell, so they were able to get him later. But, you're taking one of these 2 guys at 6 because they're not going to be there at 24. So I think that says a lot that, they're making it known they're all going to be there tomorrow. And that's probably where they're leaning. Humble, I think, it's that time. I think we did one yesterday. Might as well do another one today. Let's see if we can get Caleb Downs in this mock draft real quick. Let me get this rolling here. 1 sec. Okay, there we go. So let's do another PFF mock draft before we move on to the Cavs. Let's see if we take Caleb at 6. What could we get, Humble, with the next 2 picks? Right. So let's see if he's even there. And he's there. So let's take Caleb Downs, right? So now let's go to 24, Humble. Let's see who we have available there. And I still got Omar Cooper there, the receiver. So I got Omar Cooper. I got Blake Miller. I'm thinking receiver, Humble. I don't know about you. I think Omar Cooper's a good pick here at 24.
Let's do it.
So we go with Omar Cooper. And now we go down to 39. And the best tackle on the board... Ooh, Jennings Dunker. They have him ranked a little lower. Who I like, by the way. I think he's actually a pretty good player. I like Jennings Dunker. The best lineman is Emmanuel Pregnon, but he's a guard. So I don't know what they do in this scenario. I think maybe you would trade down from 39 if possibly and get an additional pick. Maybe not. I don't know. Chase Pistonis is a nice player, but he's a guard. So the best tackle would be Jennings Dunker. We'll just take him. And so that's kind of somewhat of a mock via PFF. Now, do I think it would always go that way? No, draft night usually goes a little different than what they're projecting. So they gave the Caleb Downs a lot different than yesterday, Humble. Yesterday they gave us a B+. Today they gave us a C for Downs, an A for Cooper, and a C- for Jennings Dunker. But still got a B. So we only went down from a B+ to a B.
Right.
So, and not that I value everything PFF says. So, I actually don't mind this draft. I mean, you still get a high-quality receiver and Omar Cooper. You take Caleb Downs at 6, and then you get a tackle, the best available tackle at 39. Your thoughts on that? Or do you like yesterday's better?
I think we can't even see from yesterday, can we?
Yesterday we had Tate at 6, Caden Proctor at 24, and then we took this cornerback at 39.
I think I like this one better for some reason. I think I'm with you.
Okay. This one's definitely a lot more controversial yesterday. That's why I like it more. But but I like Omar Cooper Jr. I think he fits well with, I mean, you saw what Zay Flowers was in that offense with Todd Monken. I think he has those type of capabilities. I think he's a faster Jarvis Landry. And then Caleb Downs is Caleb Downs. Now, Jennings Dunker, that may be a drop off to some people at tackle. I liked what I saw from him at the combine and his tape. I think he's actually a pretty good player. Now, he was just the best available tackle. I think there might be a little more available at 39. Or maybe the Browns, maybe you trade up from 39 a little higher to try to snag a guy that's falling. Maybe what if Proctor fell a little bit? What if Caleb Lamo fell a little bit? The other tackle from Utah, who's projected late first. So I think that's probably what I would look at in this scenario. If I take Downs at 6, I'm hoping Omar Cooper's there at 24, or the best available receiver, which I think would be him, unless somebody falls, which I don't think. I'd be surprised if Lemon or Tate fell that far, especially I just don't see one of those two falling that far. But Omar Cooper, I'd be thrilled with. And then if I could move up from 39, maybe use some other draft capital I have and move up a little bit and get a better tackle, I think that's a pretty good draft in my opinion. I don't mind that at all. You get 3 really good players across the board, great players, I would say, maybe across the board. So, and you fill all your needs, your top needs. But yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. So tomorrow, obviously, again, the pro days tomorrow from Ohio State. I'm sure maybe we'll get some comments from the owner, Jimmy Haslam, while he's there, or maybe Andrew Berry. Hopefully we'll hear from them soon, get a little more idea of, they don't give you much. Maybe we'll get a little more idea of what they're feeling. I hope Jimmy speaks, because when Jimmy speaks humble, he usually talks a little more. And although recently he's been a little quicker, but I think he gives you a little more to kind of dissect and maybe have an idea of what they're thinking. Barry, he just gives you the same answers. But maybe Todd Monken will talk. I think Monken, he don't really give it. He just don't give two whats. So maybe Monken will talk. But I don't know. I'm looking to hear more about it tomorrow and seeing what they have to say. And I'll be watching the pro day. But moving on now to some Cavs basketball. I know, Humble, this is more up your alley, what you're interested in with the Cavs first in Cleveland sports. Cavs play the Magic tonight, Humble. Last time we played them, they lost. It was about 2-3 weeks ago in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
So got to get back tonight. They need to get this win. We're almost to the playoffs now. We're about 2-3 weeks out. So we need to get this win tonight at home. I think it's just to make a statement that we can beat these other playoff teams consistently and defend home turf. Obviously tonight, Jalen Tyson sounds like he's out. Jared Allen's still out. And I think for the Magic, Jalen Suggs, or as Humble calls Jalen Snugs, I think he's still out for them. So both teams had some injuries, but still it's a big game tonight. 2 playoff teams going at it. Your thoughts, Humble, on tonight's game, and what do you expect?
I expect Magic to come out actually very aggressive. I think we both thought that we should have drafted Tristan Da Silva. I think we really are big on that guy. And, dude, he's the last couple of games against the Cavs, I think he's putting up 17 or 16 points on us. So I think we should definitely slow him down. He's a small forward. We're lacking small forwards tonight. So we got to get the guards involved. Mobley's got to play really good. And I know you've been high on how he's been playing lately. He's got to come out there. We got to slow down Paulo and just play at our pace. Harden can easily put up another 35 points on this team if he wants to. If he doesn't want to, we'll obviously see it in his performance tonight. But I'm very high on James Harden getting it done tonight. But I wouldn't be surprised if Magic gave us a tough fight.
I'm really curious tonight, without Jalen Tyson, how are they going to stop Paolo Banchero defensively?
Right.
Because that's been my biggest thing with the Cavs is defense. There's some nights where they look okay and they get a lot of steals. They push the ball in transition. Evans holding down the paint, or Jared Allen, or both. And then there's some nights, Keon Ellis is out there stealing the ball, and Dennis Schroeder, they look like, okay, they can get enough stops, and they could score points. They could score points. And then there's a lot of nights I see, though, Humble gets the better teams where we can't stop a nosebleed. I mean, everybody's just driving to the basket. Everybody's just, shooting getting wide open shots on us, shooting open threes, pushing on us in transition. Our transition defense looks terrible, and we're out there hoisting and settling for terrible shots. So I'm curious to see what Cavs team shows up tonight. Especially without Tyson. And you don't have Jared Allen, so there's the two pieces defensively I think you need against a team like the Magic with Banchero because he can do everything. I mean, he can pull up from 25, from 3 or 30. If he gets hot, he could drive to the rim. He could do a lot of different things. Really great player. So I'm curious to see how they stop him and slow him down tonight. Who do you think they'll throw on him?
I hate to say it, man. It'll probably be a Dean Wade.
Oh,
They'll throw up a 6'9" body on him. If not Wade, they potentially. I don't think that they'll have Mobley guard him because I think Mobley's going to be playing center for us. But shoot, who would be guarding him? I'm thinking Dean Wade. It would sadly have to be Wayne. And yeah. It's true. I know it. I know.
Well, here's
it's
what
got
I'll
to
say
be
about
him.
here's what I'll say about the big Diener. The Diener, who did we play against last week? I broke down the film on it. I can't remember. Who was the game? I want to say it was Cooper Flag. I want to say. Who did we play after that last week? Do you remember last week? Remember we played them? We played early last week. We played the Dallas Mavericks. That's what I went off on the film breakdown. We played after that. We bounced back.
The Bucks.
Yeah, the Bucks, who had no Giannis. After
The Bulls.
the Bulls. It must have been. It was the Cooper Flag game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dean Wade wasn't bad that game against Cooper Flag. Now Cooper still went off, but here, I mean. My thing with Dean Wade is I don't think he can guard the perimeter. He's not a great perimeter defender. I think he just crosses his legs too much, his feet, and I think he gets put out of position. He gets picked on a lot. You could tell. I broke it down in the film. I mean, teams, when they go and pick a roll and they know the Cavs are going to switch, they're going at him a lot. Either him or, if Sam Merrill in certain matchups. So Merrill's done a little better, but mainly him and James Harden's who they go at. So, I think you'll see a lot of that tonight. I think you'll see a lot of 1-3 pick and roll probably, or pick and pop, trying to get that switch with Banchero as the ball handler and the point guard, and then they'll try to, whatever happens. Or he may just go at Dean Wade. So I think you'll see Banchero post up a little bit tonight too, Dean Wade, and try to get him in foul trouble. Because if Dean Wade gets removed, Humble, I mean, who else we put? I mean, Max Strus would have to be the next guy. And who would you rather have, Max Strus or Dean Wade guarding Paolo Banchero? Or Keon Ellis?
Well, my bad, Joe. It kind of broke up a little bit. What'd you say?
Would you rather have would you rather have Dean Wade or Max Strus? Because I said it. I think Paolo's going to post up Banchero a lot tonight. Probably get him in foul trouble. Or try to get him in foul trouble. That means Max Strus would be left the last one to guard him. Would you rather have Dean Wade or Max Strus? Because Ellis is a guard. Would you rather have Strus, the Wayne, or Dean Wade guarding Banchero?
I'd honestly want Dean Wade, I'd honestly have Tomlin over Strus guarding Pablo. Thoughts on that?
Tomlin over Wade?
Tomlin over Strus. Tomlin over Strus.
Tomlin over both.
You would?
Yeah, I just think he just hustles more. He makes guys earn it defensively, just out of pure hustle and heart.
He plays like he's always in a playoff game. That's what I like about him.
Yeah. Now, if Jared Allen was healthy, I like Evan Mobley, honestly. Because I remember we played them in 2024. It was game 5 in Cleveland. It was, to me, the deciding game. And Banchero was killing us the whole game. And I remember the last 2 minutes of the game, we put Evan Mobley on him. He didn't score a single basket. He was hoisting, and he was trying to. Evan shut him down in 2 minutes. And that's how the Cavs won that game. He had that game-winning block. Remember that? And the Cavs got the dub. I think Evan actually guards him pretty well from what I just remember from that game. And then he just, certain matchups, Evan on the perimeter, he gets after it. I mean, he's Defensive Player of the Year. But I would maybe throw out certain lineups where I got Thomas and Evan out there, because Thomas is the only 5 you have. So put him at the 5, maybe put Evan on Banchero. Yeah, but I would go Tomlin over Strus and because he's long, he's athletic, he hustles, he's gonna make guys earn it. He's got a couple. He's got some fouls in him. He can throw on them, make him work for it. I don't mind it. A little old school action.
And I'll be honest, he hasn't been playing the best. I want him to get in offensive groove before the playoffs come up.
Yeah, I think exactly. Because you might need him. I mean, with the injuries this team has right now, and keep the Wayne and stuff. It's gonna be next man up. You're gonna need him out there.
That's the perfect word for it. Next man up.
Next man up. Shout out to our boy B Skrills. He said, "Salute, fellas. I was at Game 5. Salute B
Shout
Skrills.
out B Skrills.
Game 5. I remember watching that game. That was a hell of a game. But yeah. So, what's your prediction for tonight, Humble? Let me get your score prediction and who's gonna be the. Let me get your score prediction for it. And who do you think's gonna be the leading scorer for the Cavs tonight?
I'm going 114 to 121. Cavs winning. I think Harden drops 22 and maybe 11 assists, and Don comes back and saves the day with a 32 piece or a 30 piece around a 30, nothing more than 34. I'm nothing more than 32. And I think we get the job done with our guards, and because hell, I hope we can say that we get the job done with our defense, but it hasn't been looking that way. So I think that we come out there guns blazing, hitting our shots, and we ultimately get the job done with our guards, with both of them having over 20 points.
So you have Mitchell getting
32, around 32, nothing more.
And you got
nothing
Harden
more
getting
than 20.
All right. 20. Last time they played, Harden had 30, Mitchell had 25, Mobley had 18 and 13.
Sounds about right with Mobley.
Yeah. Now Jalen Suggs played the last game. He's out tonight. I'm gonna say Banchero at 25, De Silva at 23, Desmond Bain at 35. That can't happen tonight.
Now Paulo's gonna have the ball more if Jalen's not there. I can tell you that now. He might come around with the 37 points, maybe 40 if he's lucky.
You know what, man? Man, this is tough. I want to say Harden or Mobley's gonna be the leading scorer tonight.
I think it's Don. If he's healthy, he's coming out and happy. I got Don, but I see where you're saying with James. James has been keeping this team alive, and we got to thank Kobe Altman for that.
I like where Evan's been trending recently.
Oh, sure.
I just think Evan the last few games if I look at his box score game log since the Dallas game, where I broke down the film, they featured him more. So he had 21 shots against the Milwaukee Bucks, and he had 27 points and 15 rebounds. When he gets more shots, he has produced. The game after they had 19 shots, he still had 26 points and 14 rebounds. Now, last game he had 18 and 8, but only had 10 shots against the Pelicans. I think it's just which
was a comeback game, by the way, that Pelicans game, which was very impressive.
I just think if I'm the Cavs at home tonight, Banchero's going to have to use a lot of energy on the offensive end.
Right.
They still got Wendell Carter, and if you got Dean Wade at the 4, De Silva's probably on him. Or somebody's on.
I was going to say, we weren't going to forget about him. Yeah.
So Wade's going to space out the floor, though. I'm getting Evan down low with Wendell Carter one-on-one. I'm throwing in the ball in the block early on.
You got it.
I want to get him rolling on the pick and roll. I want to get him diving to the basket, get him some lobs. I want to see Evan Mobley have 18, 20 shots tonight. I really do. I want to see just beat their ass in the paint and just punish them, slow down the pace of the game, and that's what I want to see. 2-3 blocks. Why not throw those in there? Maybe 2. I'll give him 2 blocks tonight. But I'm gonna go Mobley the leading scorer, and I know a lot of people are gonna think what. I think he's the leading scorer tonight. Humble. I'm gonna go.
No, it's not crazy. It's definitely doable. It's doable. I mean, there's no all-star center down there. There's no big
Wendell
names
Carter's a nice
down there.
player,
Right?
But
he don't got a defensive player of the year.
No, but I think Wendell Carter. He is, isn't he like 6'10"? I think he's
Oh, for sure. He's a big guy. And he used to play for Washington.
yeah,
I might be wrong.
Oh yeah, Wendell Carter. Okay, yeah. So you know what? Yeah, I'm going with Mobley. Give me Mobley tonight. 28-15. Take it to the bank.
Take it to the bank, baby.
28-15 Mobley. I'm gonna say Harden and Mitchell each scored 25.
I can see one of the guards is going to have over 20.
Actually,
But
no. I take that back. I see Mitchell having 25. I see James, I think, has like 18 and a high assist night, like 12, 13 assists.
Right. Someone's gonna have a lower game.
I think James is a smooth operator tonight, out there dishing the ball around, and I want Mitchell and Mobley attacking and sending a message. And I think James, and what that means, what I see is, even if it's a close game going in the quarter, and let's say Mitchell and Mobley are rolling, now I got James. He's been playmaking the whole game, still getting some points here and there. Now he can just take over and just go.
100%. I was gonna say too, and then get those other guys involved as far as Keon Ellis and
Strus, I need Strus to have a big game tonight.
yeah, Strus.
Hit your open threes. That's what I want to see. But I'm going with Eben tonight. I think Eben 28-15. Here, he's had 2 games, the last three games. 2 out of the last 3 games, he's had 27 and 15, and he's had 26 and 14. I think he's trending up. You know, hell, even this first game versus Dallas, he had 15 shots, but he had 29 and 7. I mean, he's getting a little groove going here down the stretch, I think. So I think he has 28-15 tonight. And then did we do a final score? You did 114, 121 Cavs.
Yes.
I'm gonna go 113-98 Cavs. That's what I see. I'd say 113-98. I like that. So, yeah. So that's what we got for you guys on the Cavs. A little preview of the Cavs Magic tonight. How do you feel about them right now, Humble, as we're 2 weeks out from the playoff, or 2-3 weeks out? How do you feel about the Cavs right now? Do you feel better than you did last week?
Yeah, I do. Especially off that comeback performance in New Orleans. Everyone was saying, "Oh, New Orleans is a good team. New Orleans," and then we came back in the fourth quarter. I think it was like 78 to like 94 or something, or like something crazy like that, and we came back. Yeah, I'm pretty high on this team, and I think we can play through. And I think we can play through any adversity. It's just about getting healthy. You know, it was crazy seeing Keon broke a finger, and Dennis Schroeder was going through some injury. Harden was going through some injuries. Mitchell was going through injuries. Allen's going through injury. I mean, you name it. Everyone's going through injury. It's that time of year. It's just who can withstand the fire. Can you stay in that fire? And do you want it more? And I'm rooting for these Cavs, man. I think Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder, I know they're coming off the bench, but, man, I love their defense and their IQ, both of them. And I'm very high on Harden, the new additions, those guys.
Yeah, I think the 2 teams that have really, really rebounded the last week, I mean, the one team's already was rolling was the Lakers. I think the Cavs have rebounded pretty well the last week from where that loss, at home against the Mavericks. I still think they're giving a little too many points some nights, and like I giving up what was it? Giving up 110 to the Bulls, 116 to the Bucks. I don't like that. I think you want to get that down a little bit, play better defense. But they still won. They found a way to win, and I think they're just trying to get healthy and get to the postseason. So, but getting some good momentum going, getting Evan trending up, those are definitely 2 positive signs for sure. So,
right.
But
and hell, if Allen comes back, this is my last thing. If Allen comes back, healthy and looking like February Allen before the play, or once the playoff starts, the East is in real trouble. That's all I gotta say on that.
We get February Allen back. Yeah, maybe. I mean, he was rolling.
He was rolling, baby.
He played some of the best ball I've seen him play ever in a Cavs uniform.
Right.
Had a 40-point game and everything. So give me some interesting stuff to see. I can't wait for playoff basketball, that's for sure. We're gonna take a quick commercial break. Well, I'd say good commercial. We have a commercial. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna have a part 2 discussion of the Brenda Frese viral clip, the Maryland's women basketball coach from it went viral the other day. We're gonna have a part 2 conversation of that. And so yeah, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Because people put labels on you, sometimes people believe them. After a lot of, constantly people saying, "Oh, you're this, you're that," you'll never do this, you'll never be like that, whatever. Sometimes
I think this is important. I wrote this down right here because this is key for people our age, especially somebody like me who's 23, single. It's not to don't wear the labels the world might say you are. And so people could tell me in my life, some of the things in my personal life, obviously because we're good friends, but certain things maybe I haven't achieved yet because of what happened to me, just because of circumstances. But if I were to keep wearing that label of I don't have X, Y, and Z yet, or if I would go by the world standards and the pressure, and sometimes even your own family, and he even said in the sermon earlier, he said sometimes the wisest thing for you to do, nobody will agree with you, literally nobody, and that could be your own. It could be everybody around you. But as long as you listen to the voice and you can feel that conviction, why should you be afraid? Why not? What's there to be? What I mean? That should give you somewhat of a confidence, and it's hard to do because when everybody around you is telling you what to do, you can start to wear I could have started to wear those labels and started to I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today though. I can tell you that I'd be in a deep hole. So I guess kind of what. We talked about this in our last episode we did too, back I think it was like in October.
Yeah.
About being bold and courageous, and because that's really what it is. I think surrendering it takes a leap of courage, of faith, and so I guess kind of what are the things that have helped you in your past, or what some words of encouragement people out there, especially our age, watching about being bold and courageous, and not wearing your past, not wearing the labels and all that.
It's something that's, it's easier said than done, but you definitely have to try to surrender. Surrender it all to God. Giving it to Him, laying at the foot of the cross, and just trusting Him through it all. Because people put labels on you, sometimes people believe them. After a lot of, constantly people saying, "Oh, you're this, you're that," you'll never do this, you'll never be like that, whatever. Sometimes you believe them, after hearing it enough. And then at the end of the day, it's just lies. But you have to trust that, Christ is going to set you free. As He said He will. You just got to take the first step and surrender it to Him first before He takes it. Because He's not going to do it forcefully. He's going to do it. He wants you to take the first leap of faith.
All right, welcome back. Time to move on to part 2 of our conversation about Brenda Frese. If you're watching on the playback, if you want to see our conversation about Caleb Downs at 6 pick and all things Brown draft rumors, and then the Cavs versus Magic preview, go back and watch from the beginning. Yeah, welcome on into the Real, and welcome back to the Real, or welcome any of you just now tuning in. But Humble, we're getting to part 2 yesterday. I know I got rolling, and you unfortunately had some connection issues, but you wanted to come back today and really dive more deep into this because I think this is a great conversation we were having. So obviously, Brenda Frese, the Maryland women's basketball coach, excuse me. She had a viral clip the other day. We'll play it again one more time. Obviously, she's having, in my opinion, igniting her player here in the middle of the game. They're in the NCAA tournament, March Madness. And she's really coaching her up. And, she told her, she goes, you're built for this moment. And I can't remember her exact words. I'll pull that up here in a minute. Do you remember her exact words? I think it might tell me right here. It says, "I need you to lock in. I believe in you, but you got to want this moment." Right. And I'd said yesterday, and Humble agreed that, Now, this is actually needed more in society. People that not only just coaching, but in general, that people that really love and care about you. But that she has this relationship with this player, obviously, and she knows how to get into her and how to get her going. And the player said after the game, she basically loves it. She likes being. She's a coachable kid. I said yesterday, it's hard to went on about accountability and how a lot of these players nowadays and just people in general, they don't like being held accountable. They don't like confrontation. But a lot of times that's how you iron sharpens, like the saying, iron sharpens iron. It's how you grow. It's how you become better and get the most out of people and really grow in your relationships. So here was Brenda Frese again, the viral clip. I'm sure you've seen it one more time.
This is just a short time ago.
And so that was the Brenda Frese clip, and I gave a lot of my thoughts on it yesterday. But Humble, I'll let you take it from here, brother. Just kind of more your thoughts on this that you wanted to get off yesterday.
Yeah. Because in a lot of ways, like, and I'm not gonna say that I feel that way, but I know a lot of people don't feel as if some women's basketball is as entertaining. Well, hell, that's as entertaining as it gets, man, right there. And then she's literally changing women's basketball with this clip. She's revolutionizing it in some respects. Just the way you could just see there's so much passion that's in her being taught to her players. And I know from, you know, being raised as a young man, or as a kid too, I should say, my father talked to me like that. And some players respond highly to that, and some players kind of shut down in some ways. And I know growing up, that was one way that could get me fired up and be like, okay, yeah, I hear you loud and clear right now. Because some players, you could say it to them, Joe, it goes through one ear and out the other. And I know you probably had a couple of interactions like that.
Oh yeah, I mean I've seen that. You have certain players. I think nowadays, especially, I've seen. Like I'll give you examples of nowadays. What I see is a lot of guys. They already get the bag in high school that are 3-4 star 5-star athletes. They start getting the bag, and then they get to their senior year or whatever, or hell, even junior year, and they just start to check out. And they just start to kind of block out because at the end of the day, it was about their personal interest first, not the team. Not
Exactly.
there was never a true sacrifice, and it wasn't really about going to a school or wherever and playing for their community and for that logo that they put on their helmet and they wear across their chest, the team logo for the coach. It was more about, okay, let me just get to the bag, X, Y, and Z, get it secured, and I'm locking it and I'm gonna hang it up. I think that's bad because I think number one, these colleges, they're great recruiters. And even in this level, obviously it's the college level. This is somebody at the college level. Just because you're there doesn't mean you arrived. You're never a finished product. There's always somebody better than you or just as good as you, if not better than you when you get to college. So you start from square one. If you go from high school to college, I don't care if you're number one rated or wherever, you're starting from the bottom. They don't call these a good college. Yeah, they may have good recruiters that tell you all these great plans and stuff, but when you get there, it's a whole different story. And that's for everybody. There's no, I've never seen where they tell you, oh yeah, you're getting this, and this when you come here next year. I mean, even Jeremiah Smith for Ohio State, when he got to Ohio State, when he got there, he was the phenom, probably the biggest phenom athlete I've seen in recent memory, where as soon as he got to somewhere, he took over. But he still even had to kind of work for it a little bit. I mean, he had a room of Emeka Ibuka and Carnell Tate was already there. I'm trying to think. They had some other guys. They had a pretty loaded room. Marvin Harrison Jr. just left. So even when he got there, he wasn't getting the amount of touches he got, let's say, by the end of the year. He started to develop into that. So, but he's a rare instance. Not everybody. Nobody else is Jeremiah Smith that I see right now. That's a phenom. That's a rare breed. That's a LeBron James type of caliber at some level. Now LeBron, I think, still the megalodon.
A Myles Garrett, if you will.
Myles Garrett. I mean, those guys don't fall off trees every so often. So, I think everybody, you have to be coachable, you have to be held accountable, but also you can't just, uh, just feel like you've arrived and and just quit on your team and just no sacrifice, no, not, and you feel like you can't be coachable, you don't respect the coach and the program, and I think that's a lot of people nowadays, not just in sports but in society. Everybody wants to be an equal nowadays. Nobody wants to be. Um, where are the people trying to lead teams? Like like I told high school, like, I want to see the kid that what the kid I want, the kid who puts the work in, he's talented, but he leads his team to a championship or gives it his all. He's out there to the final play his senior year, uh, and give it everything he's got,
Yeah.
every single play. When you look at that guy, like, that guy never took a game off. You know what I mean? He was showed up to practice all off season every day. First guy in the gym, last guy out. Led by example. Was getting guys on field work, or on the court or whatever. This guy gave it everything he had. Every ounce of energy he had was in this 1 year, and to try to do whatever he can to be the most successful to help the team, and lead. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's missing nowadays is leaders. I think that's why when people see this humble, some people see this and they think it's bad because it's like they don't leadership just doesn't really exist nowadays as much in our culture. And I think that's obviously that's a terrible place to be. Like I said, everybody wants to be an equal nowadays. Nobody likes the confrontation. Everybody wants the path of least resistance. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to stand in truth anymore because there's a lot of weight. There is a price to pay either way. I mean, if you try to be a leader and stand on truth and do all those things, you're going to carry a bag of weight. You're going to have people that aren't going to like you. You're going to rub people the wrong way. You're going to be confrontational, and you're going to have to be confrontational at times. You're going to have to be uncomfortable at times. You're going to have to make other people uncomfortable at times. And I think a lot of people we just avoid that nowadays in society. Everybody wants to just, if I could just be an equal to everybody else and take the easy way out, maybe cheat or lie my way there. Who cares? And I just think that's just the standards we have nowadays.
That's a great point. I wanted to add a lot onto that when you were talking about the logos and putting it on your chest and everything. Hell, I remember growing up, just having pride and so much of like oh my god, and it felt like Christmas to when I got my helmet as a middle schooler, or even in elementary, fourth grade, fifth grade, more in sixth grade because that's we were I was a phoenix, so this goes into the wings and the logo. So when I got my helmet as a kid, we put our stickers on game day of the wings, so they were fresh. You took them off, but you put them on the first day of the first game of the season, and they were there all year. Well, that's all the respect and all the wows I needed to be a football player, because it's like, wow, I get to do this. You know what I mean? It was more about the team first type of thing. And I remember my coach telling me, he said, man, I wish I could have more players like you. And I was kind of confused what he was saying. And he was saying, a lot of players, they know how good they are. I like a player who doesn't know how good they are. He was the type of coach where if you were a popular kid, he didn't really want to talk to you. But if you were a broken toy or a broken soul, if you will, he wanted to teach you everything he could, because he knew you didn't know how good you were, and but you knew you came out on the field and you gave it your all. That's the type of player that he cared about more than those talented athletes. um and it goes back to that Brenda thing. It's just some coaches have that relationship with players that, like how you said, Joe, it's like a parent, and they get attached, and it's because they want to see them do so well than their former self as a coach, and even as a player in some respects.
Had she not said, like I said this yesterday, had she not said anything to that player, that would have said more to me than anything. That would have been bad to me. Had she just waved her off or gave her and just let her go sit on the bench and subbed her out, like a lot of cowardly coaches do, where they don't really coach the kids. It's just sub, and be passive aggressive and, not be honest with kids, which I saw plenty of those growing up.
Yeah.
And so, I think that would have said more to me. Like, this is a shitty coach.
She would have
Yeah,
checked out.
I like this is a shitty coach.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like this is a terrible program. No wonder why they're not going to win the whole thing. I
Yeah.
wouldn't bet, but no, you like these coaches more. You know why I took St. John's in my bracket a little further than probably most, because I like Rick Pitino. I saw that clip of Rick Pitino last year, really getting it as guys. That kind of coaching doesn't exist a lot now. It's not promoted nowadays a lot by administrations and stuff.
Yeah.
They can control and mold. But a guy like Rick Pitino, he don't give a shit. He's always been the same. You look at Dan Hurley. Why is he always so successful? And his teams, you watch him the other night against UCLA, they're just a complete machine, a unit. It's because they're just, that's just his style of coaching, man. He's not afraid to be confrontational. But, man, his guys play very hard for him. And they play disciplined. They're respectful young men on and off the court. And they love their coach. He's up there. He's the one out there cheering, high-fiving them and stuff. Dan Hurley's my favorite coach to watch right now in basketball. I love Dan Hurley. So, but you look at the most consistent coaches year in and year out. They all have that even looking football humble. Remember Andy Reid? Remember him and Travis Kelce got bumped face to face. You think Andy Reid, did Andy Reid back down?
Viral clip.
I'm Andy motherfucking Reid. You think I care who you are? Like, you know what I mean? But then they hug you. They hug it out later on.
Right.
It is what it is. You know what I mean? I've seen that. I've seen stuff where coaches and players get into it, have a little beef for a moment. You know what I mean? Whatever. And then later on, we love you too, man, and we're hugging it out. We're out there fighting for each other. We're celebrating a win. Like, it is what it is. We just all go home.
Hell, I have that with my own experience. I remember yelling at my coach saying, "You're not putting in the right guys in the locker room as a basketball player," and snapping on him, and he kind of got quiet, and he was like, just be quiet type of thing, and I'll never forget that, and he'll still bring that up every time I talk to him. But you're right though, Joe. It's true.
Humble, I want to play this clip yesterday again from Kelvin Sampson, the Houston men's basketball coach, who's one of those guys who's excellent, has a great career record, was in the obviously made it to the championship and recently, and has a great program. They could be, they may be in the Final Four again this year. You never know. I think they played the next game. I think they play Arizona. Is that one? If I'm not mistaken, 2 versus 3 or not 2. They have a big game coming up. Anyways, but Kelvin Sampson's a really good coach. A great coach. And here's what he said recently. I actually sent this to some of my coaching buddies yesterday, and they love this. And so I want to get your thoughts on this, Humble. So here we go again with, and this is more towards the line of accountability and being confrontational, how to build a proper, consistent culture, which helps you be a consistent winner year in and year out. This is the key to success right here.
I think the things that I try to impress upon young coaches, it doesn't matter whether you coach young men or young ladies. Doesn't matter. I think the coaches that fail at every level are the coaches that are passive aggressive. Passive aggressive coaches are usually afraid to hold kids accountable. You rationalize. If you're going to build a culture, the first thing you have to come to grips with is you're going to have confrontation because you want it done your way. There's certain things that can be democratic, but most things that are difficult has to be your way. So consistency, being competent, having great confidence, owning your arena. And then the fourth thing is confrontation. Confrontation. I coached in the NBA for 6 seasons. And all the coaches that got fired, I'd always try to learn more from those guys than the other guys. Why are you guys getting fired? What is it you're not doing? Most of it's, overlook little things like touching the line. When you do a line drill, how many of you guys make them touch every line? Touching every line is a metaphor for life, right? Start taking shortcuts. Kid gets tired in the practice. He runs in here, stops there, and he goes. You let that go? Okay. You start letting that go, then that kid may never touch the line. So
you let that go, that kid may never touch the line. And I think the little habits add up to big things. Like like for instance, in football and basketball, and I'll hand it off to you, Humble, is to get your reaction to this. Is what he just said there. I think you let like a culture to me, everybody should wear the same stuff to the weight room. Right? Everybody should always have team gear on, team colors. Right? That's culture. That means the team first. That means we're all bought in. We love to represent the brand we played for. We have pride in what we do. We play for one another. Everybody holds each other account. We're all doing the same weight session, the same way. Maybe there's some guys lift different heavier weights than others, but we're all putting the same work, the same intensity, the same speed. We're all watching the same film, the same attention detail. Everything's one in everything you do, and it's all a team effort. Now, it doesn't look like a freaking clown show. Do you see some other stuff out there nowadays? Or you look at a lot of the loose cultures and teams from high school on up that they win here and there, maybe because they get some talent, but they're not consistently good. It's because a lot of times they have looseness in their culture they can't sustain. And so that's my view and one way of this. I went on this a little bit more yesterday, but Humble, I'm curious your thoughts. Floor is your brothers on what Kelvin Sampson had to say there.
There's a lot to dissect there, man. But it's. I go back to his last point there, like wanting it the most for your players. You know what I mean? Because um they can't see the ultimate goal at the end of the day, right? You say you wake up in the morning and it's 7 o'clock and it's one of those foggy mornings. You can't see where you're going to school. Well, that's why you have your coach there. And that's why when he's saying that, touching the line and everything, he's there. He's got that hand on your shoulder, really. It's like the angels and devils on your shoulder. He wants you to finish it. It's yourself. It's that self doubt and you know not even knowing what's at the. Why do people not want to go to practice? I knew as a kid I didn't want to go to practice because I got scared of people seeing me tired. I didn't want people to see me tired. But growing up, I realized, what does tired do? It makes you evolve. It makes you see something you never saw before in yourself. You want that pain in your gut. You know what I mean? Your head's beating. You can't breathe. You've run so many laps. You want to vomit. You know what I mean? That's improvement more than you know it. Um, and I think a lot of players lack that, not wanting to do that, because it's like, oh, why would I put my body through that? Why would I want to put my body through hell? And you get questioning too much, uh, rather than realizing the short term goal. And sometimes it's better to look at the short goals. Whether it's I know my buddy always, I used to say this, Joe, 10 push-ups is a lot, but my buddy always said, just think of them as 10 sets. I'm doing 10 20s, 10 30s, 10 40s. And you know what I mean? He was like, it feels easier rather than saying, oh man, I got to do 10. You know what I mean? It's just a different way of looking at stuff and altering your mind, I guess.
That's a great quote there I put on the screen. Tired makes you evolve. I got this clip or this picture, Humble, you sent me today. It talks about real coaches versus fake coaches. It says fake coaches only want to associate with medal winners, chase fame, awards, and recognition, disappear when things get tough, takes credit for others' handwork, or is that hard work? Excuse me. And then he says, real coach loves the process of coaching, finds joy in helping athletes grow, stands by athletes in wins and losses, guides, mentors without expectations. And so, your thoughts on this picture, Humble, that you sent me today?
I think it's true, man. Because, well, I mean, I know my name says Humble Man MMA. I'm just relating in MMA terms. Like, there's some coaches that only want to work with the best. The best of the best boxers, because they know that, hell, they'll bring them home the gold. I don't think that's right. I think it's all about working from the bottom up. You lose that joy of why you started in the first place. You know, um, and it's chase fame, awards, and recognition. You know what I mean? When it's always a team thing. It's not about is not about recognition. It's never been about fame in sports. It's about leading your team to the goal at the end of the day and celebrating. You know what I mean? It wasn't because you wanted the fame. It wasn't because you wanted the millions of followers. That wasn't why you started. It was because you fell in love with the sport. You fell in love with your craft. You fell in love with whatever it was. And then, y- coaches don't ever take credit for the players. Everyone knows that a coach ultimately goes home and smiles knowing that those players will cherish on his legacy of everything that they've taught. I mean, he taught them, or she taught them, and excuse me, and they will pass that on to the younger generation. That's how I truly believe, and that it's true that I believe there's a real thing versus a real coach versus a fake coach.
I think we're talking about coaching as obviously topic of conversation. But I think it's like a metaphor of life. Um, like right here, only wants to associate with medal winners. That reminds me of people that they only want to associate with people they feel are rich, or they put on society puts on a pedestal, famous or whatever. We want to try to be like them. We want to associate with them and mingle with those people. Chase fame, awards, or recognition. Everybody wants to be an influencer nowadays. That's like the new hot thing. Let me be an influencer. And let me, or let me go attach myself to somebody else's, brand, and try to feed off of that to build my own self up to be some influencer, just because I got, because society says, well, if you got lots of followers on your social media and lots of clicks and reposts and all this money, man, you're doing it. Right. But
Right.
a lot of those people, though, they disappear when life gets tough. Because
Yeah.
life's not always easy, and they can't. A lot of people nowadays, they can't handle confrontation. They can't handle confrontation, but they also can't handle controversy that life may have.
Great point.
Life's not always the smooth sailing ship like social media makes it out to be, with a lot of these bought and paid for influencers that share they show this fake life and they do all this dancing and whatever they do. But life's not like that. It's not this cookie cutter linear path. Um, what are you going to do when you face real controversy in life? A lot of people are humble. They're not going to be able to. A lot of people I know humble that are 26 years old, 25 years old, our age. They haven't really faced a whole lot of adversity yet in life, and they don't know how to handle that. I don't think, because I could tell when they get in certain situations, they just melt down and just crumble. And I'm just sorry, you can't. How can you lead a home or a family or build any? You may have a home and a family, but how do you build off of that and provide a good one when you can't do any of those things? When all you're doing is chasing those three things I just mentioned. It's like I said earlier. Everybody wants to be an equal. They want to be an equal to what they see on the internet and what they see everybody else doing. But they don't ever look in the mirror and say, "What do I have great within me?" I don't. Did you see that clip recently of Joe Rogan and oh man, Tom Segura talking about a lot of people when they get to 48 that they know are kind of having like a midlife crisis because they feel like they never did anything for themselves. And a lot of people took that clip as like, well, maybe they're talking about people who just sat around, did nothing, never went got a job. No, they're not talking about that. They're talking about people who really just went along to get along and just didn't really ever create anything that they wanted to do, what their heart and passion was. And they get to 48 years old, like they mentioned, 50 years old, and they're like, man, I never really did anything for my life that I wanted to do. And it's just, they get scared, and they start getting frantic. And then take credit for others' hard work. I see a lot of that in the world now. It's humble. A lot of people like to just, they like to celebrate people when they're up, but then when people are down, people like to distance themselves from them. And so even when it's people are getting attacked unfairly nowadays, society, they like to avoid that. And it's like I said, there's no real leadership nowadays. Nobody wants to be a leader anymore. Everybody wants to be a follower, an influencer, and be an equal. And I think that's just not a healthy society.
I agree, man.
And there's a lot of those people now are becoming coaches because their kids maybe are, 7, 8, 9 years old. So they're getting involved. Those are the kind of coaches that are going to try to work their way up the ladder and make sure their kid always gets taken care of and You know,
Right.
it's about them first, and so I can look at me and my team on Facebook or whatever, and Instagram or whatever they do, and it's more about them than the actual. Because I'll tell you this, Humble, I know any real coach I know, they don't got time to post shit on social media about them and the team.
Right. They're
A
working
lot-
too hard.
all the ones I know, they have accounts, but they don't really post a lot that much. Or a lot of them don't even have any accounts. Just like, they don't got
All
time.
right.
They don't got time. If you're a college coach doing it right, you're working 18, 20-hour weeks. Or 18, 20-hour day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. Like, you don't got that kind of time. During the season, sleep 4 or 5 hours a night. Like most coaches I know, that's how they're doing it. You don't got that kind of time. But I heard this quote before, Humble, and I'm curious your thoughts. Kind of a lot of what I'm saying from my man, Coach JB. Shout out to him. Mediocrity is the new excellence.
Mm.
And I feel like that's true for a lot of people. We've lowered so many standards in the bar for so many things. Mediocrity is now the new excellence. And I just think, we weren't put on this planet, like Joey Diaz said that time, you weren't put on this planet to just basically be average.
Yeah.
You were put on this planet no matter who you are. You don't need a lot to do something great. You really don't. All you need is, like whatever that clip you played, Humble, as long as you got 3 bad motherfuckers in your corner, as long as you got 3 people in this world you can lean on and believe in you can do anything. So,
Right.
I just feel like I know I'm kind of going on a rant a little bit, but your thoughts on that, Humble, that mediocrity is the new excellence. I'm curious what you think of that.
Yeah. From when I feel like that when I hear that, what's funny? I think when I really break it down, when I think of that, I think of there's so much stuff out there, man. So much content. There's so much stuff. Like people be like, "Hey, did you see that?" No, I didn't see that. Why not? I was doing my own thing. You know what I mean? There's just so much out there to read or educate yourself on, or just even consume, and just so much in there. So many documentaries, man. And you know what I mean? And when you break it down, when I think of that, I think like, man, there's just so many quotes on there for people on whether it's Instagram or just basically social media. Just people putting off like just their thoughts. And man, I think like God didn't really make us on this planet for us to read everyone's thoughts. I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I don't
what are
know.
you creating? What are you leading to help?
Right.
Yeah, well, great point. That's a hell of a point. Because you're right. Like, God didn't put us here just to go along with everybody else. We're to be different. We're to be salt and light. You know what I mean? We're to be all those things that you just mentioned. I mean, I like that point you made. Like, I get that. Dude, I've had that for years. People are like, hey, did you see this on social media or it's trending? I'm
Right.
like, I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. And guess what? I don't want to know nothing. I don't.
Right.
I don't give a fuck. I don't. I should say. I don't care a lot of times because a lot of stuff. It's like, yeah, maybe some of it may be entertainment. Some of it's just kind of stupid. Yeah, I mean, or some of it's just you watch it, you're just like, this is so fake and phony, and just so scripted. Because everything's just so fabricated nowadays, and it's all about just. As long as it looks good and gets the views and the rigged algorithm that they put it in, it's just like, I'm just not with that stuff. You know what I mean? Like the best people I like to listen to, Humble, a lot of them are independent. They don't work for a media company. They don't work for ESPN or anything. They work for themselves, or they're their own entity on YouTube. Like they just
Self-promoting.
self-promote, but man, they get some of the realest content from them. So
Right.
anyway, I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. I don't want to know, and not that I don't care, but sometimes I don't really care. Like, it's just how does this affect? Like, Humble, you know, I ask all the time about people like this stuff. You probably same way. It's like, how is this gonna help my life in any way?
Right.
Nothing. I'm just wasting time. And I know people, Humble, that literally had 4 or 5 hour addictions to TikTok and other social media apps. 4 or 5 hours straight.
Sure.
Do you know I could do in 4 or 5 hours? That's a lot more productive than that.
No, I could list them off, man.
man, we could do a show for like this for an hour and 15. We can go run some errands, make you a
Interview
nice
Coach
lunch.
Johnny.
Man, call Coach Johnny up, talk to him. You know, go on a walk, go work out. I mean,
Right.
yeah, do a meditation, get your mind right, pray, read. You know, most important. I mean, you can do a lot of things you
The
can
list
do in a
goes on.
45-hour span that are a lot more effective for your life.
Right.
Go to work. I don't know. Actually, do
Yeah.
work when you're at work. I see that nowadays too. It drives me crazy. I'm out at a place. And I see people sitting there working on their phone the whole time. I mean, literally just not giving no F's. That there's people waiting in the line, like a Chipotle or whatever, to get their food, and they're just sitting there picking their phone, pecking at their phone, and rice is low. Like like they need the rice restocked. The fucking chicken's almost out, and you're over there just pecking on your phone, jamming and whatever, some stupid. I mean, it's like, get to work. What are you doing? It's not that stuff. It's just crazy, man. People cannot take their eyes off of a device now. I mean, it is. Remember when crack was an epidemic back in the day?
Oh man, I see where you're going with this one.
That's the new epidemic. I'm telling you, man. Screen time. It
Yeah,
really
that could
is.
be a documentary. We need to drop
Dopamine. That's the new one.
that. Yeah, well, let's drop it, Joe. That sounds like a good documentary.
Dopamine. Coming to Netflix real soon. Give us
Coming
a
to
call.
Netflix.
Give us a call. But
No, seriously.
no, but I don't know. I think this is a great conversation. I mean, I know we we took it to a lot different layers, starting with the Brenda Frese thing. But again, I just think shout out to Brenda Frese. I mean, I'm glad there's still coaches out there like that, that have their, and shout out to the player most importantly too. The player she said a great thing after the game I saw about it, and she just said she likes being coached. She likes being coachable. That's a great young lady right there.
I did
she'll
see
be
that too.
Successful in everything she'll be. And whether she's a WNBA player or whatever she does in life, maybe she'll be a coach one day. She'll probably be pretty damn good at it because she has it right. She has her head on straight. So shout out to her too.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm glad there's still people out there like that. I think there is a lot more. I think more people need to be more vocal, or just chase what they know is right, chase what their heart desires. You know what I mean? And like no more go along, get along game. We don't need that no more. But yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah, seriously.
No words, humble. You got any final thoughts before we get up out of here, brother? I mean, you want to plug your channel? Where can they find you at?
Yeah, man. You guys can find me over there at Humble Man MMA, and we'll be posting out some content here soon. I appreciate the guys that did over there come over there and sub to me. There was definitely a couple of people that subbed, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate coming up here and just talking. I really enjoy it. Me and Joe both really enjoy giving you guys sports content, but our hearts are really into this stuff, man, and it's fun. For people on the playback, man, we drop a comments for us, man. We love reading stuff and sending it to each other and stuff, and I'm just gonna keep pushing out some of this stuff. And like Joe says, if there's any content you guys got for us and you want us to react to, send it our way, and we'll break it down. And shoot, we just love doing this stuff. It's in our heart, man.
Absolutely, we love doing this, and we've been fired up. We got a lot more shows we're planning already for you guys. So if you got any ideas, let us know. But we got a ton too. We're already scheming up. So, yeah, man, like, subscribe, show that good stuff. Go subscribe to Man Humble, and his channel will be down in the description below. And love all you guys, and we'll be reacting to more Browns news with the draft. We'll give a reaction to the Cavs here coming up soon, headed to the playoffs. Maybe we'll give a reaction to the game after tonight. Hopefully they'll win. And yeah, man, keep talking about some real life stuff. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Like, subscribe, share all the good stuff. We're out of here.
Peace.